Last night we made a summary of all the things that are of the things that you are fasting from. So if it does not fall under any of these categories or any of these subjects, doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't break your fast. Lying is haram, it doesn't break your fast. Stealing is haram, but it doesn't break your fast. So whatever does not fall under what we addressed over the first few nights that we spoke about does not break your fast. People mention blood transfusions. Whether I'm donating blood or I'm receiving blood. Although when you donate blood, you know, some people, they get a bit woozy. They're going to fall over or something like that when they're giving blood. That would make the action makruh. But it does not make it something that breaks your fast. And this comes with all the things that we do aesthetically, all the cosmetics we do to ourselves, whether you are brushing your teeth. Although brushing your teeth and using the toothpaste, putting the toothpaste in your mouth is problematic, it doesn't break your fast. As long as you don't break those fundamental rules. Using perfume doesn't break your fast. A lot of people, when you put perfume on or cologne, you know, obviously for you guys, you don't put perfume on, you know, unless you're planning on moving to the other side. But you put on cologne. But to put cologne on doesn't break your fast. However, it is makruh to smell, you know, those scented herbs and flowers, plants. Is kiraha, to smell that, especially nargis, the narcissus, which is, you know, the narcissus you'll see of its types is the daffodil. To smell the scent of those, there is kiraha. It's makruh, but, and I don't know why, that's one of those rules that it's, the ulama have come to this conclusion from their study. Like there's no reason why smelling perfume doesn't have kiraha and this does, that I understand or that I have understood. Even to taste things, you know, when someone's cooking, to taste the food, to taste it, as long as we don't break the rules, I don't swallow what you're tasting. If you're tasting the food in any way, it doesn't go further than just tasting the food. Alaykum as-salam. And in the old days, what they used to do, now it doesn't happen often because people just go get those tins, the food tins, and they feed their babies. In the old days, I don't know if you've ever seen, if you're watching the National Geographic channel or any animal program, if you ever notice when the mother feeds the young, or it regurgitates what it's eaten. It eats the food, then it brings it back up. Or if you've ever seen one of the an'am, the animals that graze, they what they call chew their cud. You know what chewing your cud is? When you actually swallow the food and it doesn't go into your digestive system, it goes into a storage pocket. And that storage pocket within the digestive system, but it's not inside the digestive system, doesn't go down. They bring up the cud again and they start to chew it, to chew their food properly. Okay? Now, in the old days, this is what we used to do. No, we didn't regurgitate. In the old days, the parents would actually get the bread. You know, they couldn't go and get, like I said, they won't get into these pumpkin mixes and that, get the bread, and they would chew on the bread and make it tender, and then they feed the baby. You know, we go, oh, that's disgusting. If you see what happens in those processing factories, you'll eat it from someone's mouth instead. Seriously. Even Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he actually says this. He says, Rasulullah used to chew the food, وَيُلَقِّمُنِي, he used to feed me from his mouth. See, but because of our standards today, we'd find that abhorrent. Obviously not from the mouth of the Messenger of God, but from other people's mouths, we'd find it something of disgust. So anything that does not fall under these categories is not something that breaks your fast. Inshallah, we'll look at other points as we move along in the following night. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر. This wasn't only for Rasulullah that you are there to remind, not to rule these people, overcome these people. This was for every prophet. Every prophet was there as a beacon of guidance, not someone that had been brought to overcome, but instead to give direction. These prophets were not brought here in order to destroy nations, but they were brought to bring hope to people. Because when you live in a world that seems hopeless, this world that you actually live in, that we all live in this world, it seems hopeless. You sit there, and especially now with social media, people bring the news directly to you when you don't want to. When you're avoiding listening to the radio, when you're avoiding watching television, when you're avoiding reading the toilet newspaper, when you're avoiding all these things and you abstain from them, someone sends you a message of what's happening in the world and you think, oh my God, it's the end of the world. The prophets came around because everything around them was like that. The people used to scare each other. You know, there was no minister of glad tidings. Even in a community, when's the last time someone turns up and says, you know, so-and-so married someone and it was a happy marriage, or so-and-so had a nice child. But you'll always get the one that turns up, you go, you know, so-and-so got divorced. So-and-so's marriage is on edge. Their child died. You know, this. If someone gets shot, the whole community goes nuts. It goes all over the place. People love to give bad news. The prophets came to give the people good tidings and hope. The people of Madian is our discussion for these nights. This region in Jordan. If you take a look at these regions, this is where you would say was the cradle of civilization. If you look at the Sumerians or ancient Mesopotamia in general, you look at ancient Persia, the Babylonian eras, all the way to where the major conflicts in the world exist today, this is the cradle of civilization. This is where everything took place. And this used to be basically what New York City is today. This is where everything was happening. This is where the whole world came together. And later it became Rome, and now it's New York. But back then, everything took place when it came to trade and commerce, importing goods, exporting goods, all came through the city of Madian. The thing is with religion, we tend to think religion is something that's placed in a compartment and put aside, like your Quran, your copy of the Quran, or your musalli, you know, the prayer mat, that you only bring it out when it's time for it. Like I mentioned once to some of the brothers, I've mentioned this several times actually here, that when I went once to Gallipoli Mosque in I was going to say Turkey, out west in Auburn, because it's a Turkish mosque, and I said how the imam of the mosque enters as a civilian, goes into the phone booth and comes out as Superman. Then, you know, wears his equipment, and then he goes back into the phone booth, comes out as Clark Kent on the other side. Goes back to being a civilian. And this has been adopted from Turkey. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk wanted Islam to remain in the masajid. Don't take Islam outside. But religion is all encompassing. Religion does not pertain to prayers. Yes, prayers has its rules. It's not pertaining to fasting and Hajj, yet they have their rules and regulation. It's got to do with your dealings with family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, and trade and commerce. And everything is governed by religion. And these people were living in this region where there was trade and commerce and this type of activity. All merchants living amongst each other. Shaitan loves this environment. Why? Because Shaitan always convinces you about not making an honest dollar. People love to make a dishonest dollar. For some reason, most of the questions you get from people are, can I do something? And it's shady as, but we like it. You know, there's something looks good. This looks all right. Let me find a method, a Shari'i method to earn this dishonest dollar. We try and give it every method of thought where we can make it sound good. We legitimize it. We want to buy something that's stolen. They say, oh, this is, for example, you go buy a stolen purse. And they say, oh, this purse was stolen from a polytheist. Therefore, it's permissible. This is what people start to do. They start to give reason to make something permissible. It's theft. You've stolen it. It's stolen property. Does this polytheist not have the right of ownership? That's how some people live. You know, it's that Wahhabi mentality. You know the Wahhabi mentality where you can deal drugs to non-Muslims, and by non-Muslim means non-Wahhabi. You know, everyone else you can deal drugs to, except the Wahhabi. You're allowed to do this. This is their method of understanding. And people start making this when it comes to trade, when it comes to dealing with others. But the same token, they hate it when they get ripped off. You know, sometimes we complain about something that we do ourselves. Honestly, we complain. I'm talking about myself. I complain about something that I do myself all the time. And this is what happens. We complain about things that we tend to do ourselves. People like to make that quick dollar, so they look for these quick systems. You know, like when it comes to someone asking, what is the best investment? What is the best thing I can invest in? If you were to tell them, invest with Allah Azza wa Jal, they give you that look. Give in the way of God, it gives the best returns. Instead, we all jumped when there were stocks for us to buy, especially the cryptocurrencies. Everyone wanted to make that quick dollar. Everyone wanted to be with everyone else that's been making it. Even though we know this has the chance, I'm not saying these are haram, buying shots, don't go off on a tangent, don't go off thinking this. I'm just saying that we had more trust in this than we had trust in giving in the way of God, where it returns back to you multifold. And this is the way that we deal when it comes to trade. Now, long ago, and still up to today, it still exists. Have you ever seen those ads that you might see in Gumtree or in the Trading Post? The Trading Post still exists? Oh, I thought it's obsolete now. But if you things you see in Gumtree, or someone says, I exchanged my tennis racket for a cricket bat. Have you seen that? That was the old system. The barter system still exists today. Some people still use the barter system where I exchange something for another thing. And people would walk up and say, listen, I'll give you a chicken. Give me 10 bags of barley. And that would be an exchange, and we both walk away. So along came Shu'aib, على نبينا وآله وعليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام صلوا على محمد وآل محمد and he saw that these people, when it came to trade, it was a different system for everybody. Depends who walks in. Can I pull the wool over his eyes or the other guy? And that's how I deal with them. And he implemented the measurement system, which we use today. He implemented the system of the Kayl and the Mizan. He put this into practice. Now you may ask, what is Al-Kayl and what is Al-Mizan? What's the difference? The system of the Kayl is the same system when you, for example, are baking a cake. It says 1 cup, 1 tablespoon. This is kale. Or you will see the system of the kale when you enter a coffee shop. Small, medium, large. All that, you're buying based on a measurement. 1 cup of this, 1 bowl of that, in that system. So you could see this even when you're buying those plates, those plates of full and hummus or turmos, the ones where you buy on the side of the street. Or even when it comes to ice cream, you're getting a scoop or 2 scoops or whatever in that manner. And likewise, the mizan, which is a scale, still exists. The scale up to now is everywhere. You go to the greengrocer. We don't use that term anymore, do we? You go to the shop, the mixed business, or you go into your Woolies or your Coles, and there's a scale when you're buying fruit. So based on 1 kilo of apples, 2 kilos of apples, you even at the butcher's, you buy 1 kilo of meat or this kind of thing. So both these exist, even when it comes to jewelry. Even street pharmacists still use the mizan. But anyway, so Shu'aib alayhi salam introduced this system to bring about a system of fair trading. So when people are in trade and when they are dealing, that there is a fair system. Everyone has that same measurement and that same system. And when it comes to the measuring system, we have laws. A lot of people, when you sit them down and you ask them about ahkam or the rulings of salah and fasting, they know them. Even though the ahkam of the ibadat are only one of the 3 books of the maraja. The other 2 books are the ahkam of the muamalat, the dealings and the transactions, and no one really knows these when it comes to trade. And it's unbelievable because you are dealing in something it is imperative that you know the laws of this, for you to know how to deal in this manner. See, because there are things we don't know when it comes to this. For example, if you're selling any commodity and you sell this commodity by weight, you cannot trade the same commodity for a different weight. For example, if I go into a jeweler and I walk in and I have, let's say it's a sister because we don't wear gold. Sister walks in, a woman walks in and she's wearing a golden bracelet, and this golden bracelet's seen its days. There's all these chinks and all that, and she gives it to the jeweler. And the jeweler puts it on the scale and says, all right, this is 15 grams. Her husband was cheap, but anyway, this is 15 grams. I will take this and I will give you 10 grams of gold that's in good nick. This is riba. This is usury. If he takes this, because the commodity is the same, it's gold. If I trade gold in weight, I have to trade it the same. Even if this gold is 19 carat for 24 carat. Because it's still gold. It doesn't matter about, you can't look at the different type of gold. You could say this is rose gold, this is white gold, it's gold. So when it comes, what I'm supposed to do is he weighs the gold, he buys it off me for the price, takes it in, and then he gives me the other bracelet and he says, this is the price of it, but for the workmanship, you have to pay this much. This is what they're supposed to do. To actually do this trade is not permissible. And this is bought in different examples. Even for it comes, if you're going to purchase, if you're going to buy rice, if you bring, I give you 3 kilos of white rice in exchange for 2 kilos of brown rice, usury. It's a riba. You can't do this. This is the way it works. Why? So there's none of this trickery involved. And these people telling you, well, my quality is better than yours. This is the price of the rice. this is what I'm selling it for. So the same commodity could not be traded when it came to dealings. This is the rules that God places and implements. Some people will say, why? You know, like those people that refuse to do aqd shar'i when they're with a person. Say a person meets, a gentleman meets a female and he wants to be with her. And then he says, why do I have to do aqd shar'i? I'm only saying a few words. These few words are the difference between halal and haram. You can go eat kosher meat if you want. You can go eat non-Islamic killed if you want in that method. But why do you eat what's killed by a Muslim? It's only a few words that are read over it. A few words make something into permissible. It's a difference between paradise and the fire of hell. However, if I'm not using the measurement system, say for example, I'm not using weight and I'm not using the kail, I'm not using the measurement cup or the measurement instrument, and I'm not using weight, I can do an uneven exchange. For example, you come up to me and say, here's 20 Samsung S9s and you give me one iPhone X. Hold on. I know it sounds like an unfair exchange, you know. 20 Samsungs aren't worth one iPhone. But even still, this is acceptable because it doesn't go down as what? It doesn't go down as an exchange of differing weights, because we're not selling Samsungs, the phones and the iPhones, they're not sold on weight. Do you understand what I mean now? So in that case, you can exchange. This is what the barter system was originally. So when the weight system came in, that was the purpose of it, because they were selling things that were known and there was a set price on. There's a set price on the gold and set price on all these other kind of things. Now when Shu'aib alayhi salam brought in this transaction system, this measurement system, what happened? The people got upset. Because the people rely on doing shifty business. You know, sometimes when you walk into a shop and you feel like you've been taken advantage of. You know, when you didn't want to buy something and somehow you walk out with a lot of things. You purchase them because the owner of the shop put it on you. Some people aren't good at saying no. They just purchase because of this method. And these businessmen, they've got this way of talking to people and trying to convince them what they're doing is right. But with the measuring system, it makes it difficult to rot. Take a look at the difference when you enter a supermarket and you enter Joe's Mixed Business. I hope there's no Joe's Mixed Business out there that gets upset, but I'm just saying. So when you walk into the supermarket, you walk in, how free do you feel? You want to buy one chewing gum and walk back to the... You get a chewing gum, honestly, a chewing gum, you walk up, you price it and walk off and no one says a thing to you. But you walk into Joe's and you pick up that chewing gum, Joe's going to look at you and say, you really want me to move my finger on that cash register for your chewing gum? So what does he say to you? Khali alayna. You know, take it, you know, I don't want anything for it. And you go, you know what? I'll take a bag of bread even though I've got 10 at home and a newspaper. And you start picking all these random things so you don't feel obliged. But the measurement system and dealing in this manner, you walk in, you pay and you walk out, and that's a set price. And that's the way we work. Now, once again, I reiterate, it is obligatory, absolutely obligatory for you to know laws before you open a business. For you to know the law before you enter in any business transaction whatsoever. You need to understand what you're doing. Because you could be buying and selling and not realizing that you're dealing in haram the whole time. And have no idea because you haven't looked into it. Just before we pursue this. Because when a person walks into a Muslim shop, you need to understand this. I walk sometimes into Muslim shops, and I see they sell these mixed businesses. They'll sell these little lollies at the bottom. You know, there's one called Yuppie, which is made in Malaysia, so you can eat that. And then there's another one they sell that's called Trolley, which you can't eat because it's made in China. So the gelatin in that's from porcine. It's pork. Whereas the Yuppie is from Malaysia. It's an Islamic country. So whatever gelatin they use is actually from an Islamic base. So I walk into the shop and I say, you can't sell this. This is haram. He says, why? I go, because when a Muslim enters your shop, you know, when you enter a Muslim shop, you're supposed to feel that everything here is legitimate. I will be treated fairly. I'm not going to get ripped off. This is how someone's supposed to feel when they talk to a Muslim. But on the contrary, you know, sometimes, like one of the brothers told me, he says when he wants to buy something and he makes a call, say there's a car for sale, says, hello, and the guy says, oh, this is Michael or Sam, and he goes, this guy's got to be Muslim. And he'll close the phone. This is really bad to feel that way. On the contrary, when I know it's a Muslim, I should feel that this person is going to be a fair trader. It will be a fair exchange, and I will get more than I expect because it's a Muslim. So I need to be certain that what's in being a Muslim, because I'm accountable. Someone walks into my shop, I can't have spam on the shelves. I can't have something that is not permissible. Another thing that is problematic with trade is when you are selling something. For example, I want to sell this glass of water. And you come up to me and I say, look, and I say I purchased this glass of water for $5, which I didn't. So the Al-Jaafari put it here. So I say I'm going to sell this for $33, say. And you walk in, some people that have this habit when they're selling, they'll say, brother, I like you. And I bought this for $30. But for you, I'm going to give it for $33. There's no need for you to say that. Because you just lied. All you have to say is, I'm selling it for $33. That's it. You don't need to tell them $30. Some people go even a step further. Some merchants, you want to know the levels people get to. Some merchants will buy products and go up to their wife and say, listen, I'm selling you this water for $20 and I'm going to buy it back off you for $30. And then he'll take it to the shop and say, I purchased it for $30. You know, ala hamana ya Fir'aun. Are you trying to pull the wool over people's eyes? You know what you are doing. يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. Who are you trying to kid? Who you are trying to mock? You are trying to mock God? You play these little games, you end up falling flat on your face. And this is what happened. And inshallah, this discussion is going to go over the next 3 nights, the story of Madian. This is what happened to Shuraih. If you research Shuraih al-Qadi, what led Shuraih to sign the death warrant of Muslim ibn Aqil and resign the death warrant of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, according to some historians? Was, if you read, I want you to do this as research, get home, go to Nahj al-Balagha and find the letter of Imam Ali alayhi salam to Shuraih. Shuraih played a little game with God, thinking he'd get away with it. And this is what led for him to sell his religion and his akhirah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us honest in our transactions and honest in the way we deal with people, and place honesty within our hearts. And inshallah, we aren't dealt with honestly on the Day of Judgment, but we are dealt with mercifully. ببركة الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.